In this lesson, we're looking at speakers, and so how do computers make sounds? And these are all speakers are going to be relying on more or less the kind of same basic principles, which is using electromagnetic signals to make something vibrate. So if you recall when we talked about microphones, those transformed vibrations in the air into electric signals using magnetism. So we had, a big diaphragm, something that would have the waves in the air hit it. So we had compression, decompression, compression, decompression, traveling through the air. When it hits it, it causes the diaphragm to vibrate back and forth. Then we have, real silly example or like illustration of it. We got a little magnet attached, and then that's sitting in a coil of wire. And then when that coil or that magnet goes back and forth, it generates a signal in the wire because the magnetic field changes. And we saw, because of Faraday's law, that means that the electrons in the wire jiggle back and forth and we get a signal. We get current transforming back and forth. And we said if this is really precisely engineered and refined and all set up really nicely, it can perfectly capture all those vibrations, right? If this is vibrating fast, if it's vibrating hard, if it's doing something where it's kind of got multiple vibrations going on, you could theoretically capture all of that. So if we reverse the microphone, we get a speaker. So a microphone reversed is a speaker. So everything we just talked about, but in reverse, is our speaker. So it transforms an electric signal into air vibrations using electromagnetism. So if we have that same setup of a coil, and then we've got our kind of silly bar magnet, they never will actually look like this in most speakers, but it's enough to get the idea across. Well, then if you send the electric signal in this wire, those electrons move back and forth. That means the magnetic field inside this coil of wire, we talked about solenoids, that field bounces back left and right, and that will pull or push on the magnet. And what does that do? That creates vibrations in the air that travel outwards. And so that's the idea behind any speaker that we've got. It's just the exact opposite of a magnet, of a microphone. And I know from talking with most of you that I think you pretty much all get how microphones work. So just imagine flipping everything around and you've got a speaker. Now, one thing we will talk about is this idea of speaker specialization. So a specific speaker will produce certain frequencies of sound better than others. So if you've heard of subwoofers, that's a speaker that does low frequencies really well. It's designed to produce low frequencies accurately. There's other speakers that will produce mids and that will produce highs. So for example, I don't know how clear this will be, but I've got a pair of headphones right here, or at least one earphone. In this one earphone, there are basically 5 speakers in there. There's one for high frequency sounds, one for low frequency sounds, and then you've got 3 for your mid frequencies. That's because most of what we listen to with music and audio are in what we call the mid frequency range. So each of those 5 speakers in there, we use different terminology with headphones and speakers because technically it's one speaker that's got 5 pieces that do different things, but that's beside the main point here. But each of those 5 produce certain things. One is producing most of the bass sounds, one is producing most of the treble sounds, and then the mids are producing kind of different chunks in the middle. And so that's what we have there. If you have like a 3.1 surround sound or a 5.1 surround sound or a 5.2, that's saying that you've got 3 or 5 speakers. The first number is how many speakers are producing kind of your mids and highs. And then that 0.1 or that 0.2 tell you how many subwoofers you have, I believe is the case. But the point here is we can use different speakers to specialize in different ways to talk about different frequencies.